Hello, it's me, Mr. Pete's again. This is going to be your project that you're going to be working on, and you're going to have the rest of the week to be doing this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to briefly kind of show you. This is going to be the slideshow that you'll see on the assignment, and then I'll show you how to use various tools on Google Drawings to be able to make these really cool shapes, and then how to choose different colors and stuff like that. So just to kind of go over what Frank Stella's work looks like we had spoken about, his work is very geometric, right? Easily measurable. Squares, circles, triangles, quarter circles, and all that kind of stuff. And you could see that it almost looks like there's lots of different layers, and layers is going to be really important here when you're trying to make shapes on Google Drawings, because whatever shapes you put down first are going to be the bottom layer, and then you're going to be adding stuff on top of that. So if you kind of think of Google Drawings as cutting up a bunch of colored construction paper, and then you put one piece down, and then the next piece you put down is always going to be above that one, and then the next piece you put down is always going to be above that one. So I'll show you how to do that and sort of how to think and plan this out. So what we're going to do, if you take a look, you can kind of see that the circles are kind of underneath these squares, almost like these squares sort of act like a window, like I mentioned before, and then we have these sort of circles that are underneath it. It's like the circles were put down first, and then the squares went on top of them, all right? And same thing with this square. Really, I think that this big square was first, and then you would add smaller squares and smaller and smaller and smaller, and then the very last square you would add is right here. Okay, and then again with the different colors, you want to be very purposeful. Don't just randomly make change colors. I want to see, like, is there a progression somewhere? Are you using saturated versus neutrals? Are you using complementary colors, warms and cools, and those sorts of things? And then if you have certain shapes that are, they're still geometric but a little bit tougher to do, I'm going to show you how to use a tool called the polyline tool, and we'll kind of work from there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click on our file here, and I will, for you guys, I'll have the background be white. I'll set that up for myself now, and and I'm going to start to work with shapes. So let's just start with the basic shapes first. If I click over here, it's like a little circle on top of a square. And then you can pick a lot of different shapes, but just start with these. Don't do the arrows or any of these other ones. Just do these, because these are the ones that are going to be the most geometric. And try to stay with the real basic ones: squares, circles, triangles. Okay, don't use the heart or the moon or any of that stuff. I want you guys to really focus on the real basics, okay? All right, so we'll start with a circle. And so when you draw a circle, if you want your circle to be perfect, by the way, you can hold down the Shift key. While you're holding that down, don't let go, you're going to drag out the circle, and then you have a perfect circle, okay? It's just like the other assignment that I showed you before. Now, if I wanted to put concentric circles inside of this, I could do that. So I have this one circle. I'll go back here, and I'm going to choose another circle, okay? And then I will hold down the Shift, and I'm going to make another circle. Make it a little bit smaller. Okay, now it's kind of off, so I'm going to use my arrow tools on my keyboard to kind of move it around a little bit. And you can also, move it with just like clicking it and using that. Now I'm clicking one circle and kind of moving it over. I can also click the other circle. This is now just the big one. If I click the smaller one, it's now just the smaller one highlighted. Okay, and I could do this again. Okay, now notice that the circle is on top of the circle. I'm going to do this one more time. Okay, and I can kind of bring this over. Now, you know what? They're about the same size, so I'm actually going to fix that. I'm going to go to this corner, hold down the Shift key. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. All right, and that's a little bit better. Maybe even a little smaller. Okay, and then I can kind of center it just like that. Okay, so now I have 3 different circles. the biggest one I started with, then this one, and then the smallest one was the one that's on top. Okay, so if I wanted to change the color of only the big circle, I would go over here to fill color, and let's say I wanted to start with red. Okay, now it looks like there's just a red line, thick line, but it's actually the entire circle that's underneath these two. So if I were to highlight these two and bring them over here, you can see that that whole thing is red. And if I were to drag these and put them on top, you see how that works? All right, so now I want to do this next circle. So I'm clicking that circle, and maybe I'll choose orange. Okay, and then I'll choose this circle. Maybe I'll choose yellow. Okay, so now I have sort of a theme here. My concentric circles are warm. Maybe I might want to do a new set over here. All right, and you can do the same thing with squares. You can do the same thing with triangles. All right. Now I want to show you something called the polyline tool. So if I wanted to do a shape that's, a little bit more difficult and that shape doesn't exist over here in these shapes, then I would click this little down arrow here where the lines are, and I would choose polyline. Okay. And then I have a little plus sign that pops up that shows that you have the polyline tool. All right. And then the way the polyline tool works is you would click and then it starts to move a line. You don't have to hold it. You just click once and then just move your mouse, and then you can go to a different spot and click and see it kind of continues this. And I'm just going to do a shape that kind of looks like this. Okay, now I want to close this shape. If I put all these lines together and I close it, I get one big shape. Now notice that there's a snap right at the end there. You see that snap? That's really, really important, because if you don't have that snap, it won't enclose the shape. But if you see that little snap right there and then click, then the whole thing, those lines you just made, becomes one big shape. So if I use my arrow tool, it is now treated the exact same way as the circles or anything else. It's basically a shape. And I can fill color this. I can do something like that. Now, if I wanted to make this exact shape, but a lot smaller, while it's highlighted, I can Control or Command, copy, C, and then paste with V. And then I get another shape just like it. But then what I can do is go to that corner, hold down the Shift key, this one's where you have to hold it down, and drag it to make it a little bit smaller. And then you can fit it inside. And then you can repeat that over and over and over. Okay? And then you have these geometric shapes that you can manipulate. This one's the bigger one, this one's a smaller one, if you wanted to overlap it. Now, if you were to do squares on top of the circles, for example, I mean, you could put anything on top of the circles. Again, you have to understand that because this is a new shape, it's going to be on top. All right? And because this is the newest one, it's always going to be the toppest one out of all of them. So when you're planning out the geometric shapes, please make sure that you are understanding what's going to be on the very bottom and then the shapes that'll be on the very top. All right. And if you guys ever need help, you just email me or, comment on Google Classroom and stuff. All right. And then the last thing I want to show you is after you're done with all of your project, you see that thin black line? There's a thin black line that kind of borders the shapes. If I were to highlight maybe just this big shape here, I can go over here where it says border color and I can hit transparent. And that little black line is now gone. There's no longer a line that's separating the shape. It's all just one big color. And you can do the same thing, like if I want to do all three of these circles, then I'll take my mouse, I'll highlight all three of them, and then go to border color and hit transparent. When I click off, those borders are gone and you just get those solid colors. So you'll see something that looks very reminiscent of Frank Stella's work. All right. So again, if you guys have any questions, please let me know. Play around with this, and I want to have a very beautifully finished project by the end of the week. All right, make sure you follow my instructions. I will talk to you soon. Bye, guys.